Hey, everybody, it's me, Queenie Brown. You feel it, we feel it. We've seen the news, you know what's going on, and so do we. But let's talk about it today, how to stop the coronavirus from impacting your cash flow. Let's get it going. Hey, everybody, thank God it's Financial Freedom Fridays. I'm Queenie Brown, and I'm joined by the KingsMan, and today we're going to talk about how to stop the coronavirus from impacting your cash flow. We've all been impacted by what we're seeing on the news and what we're seeing worldwide. It's devastating to watch, but when you really go behind the scenes and look at what we're really dealing with, it changes our perspective. And what's important is that we recognize that we have power. We don't have to be overtaken by what's going on in the media and what's going on in the news. And we don't have to be a part of what's about to happen economically. Let's talk about it. I'm going to join the Kingsmen to our conversation. Hello, Donovan Jarbo. Sorry, guys. Donovan Jarbo and Dwayne Taylor. These are the Kingsmen. I'm Queenie, and we are going to talk today about how to stop the coronavirus from impacting your cash flow. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
What's going on, Miss Queenie?
Good morning, good
Good
morning,
morning,
everyone.
family.
Good morning, Mrs. Brown.
Good
Good to see
morning.
you.
Good morning. So I've been watching. It's funny. It's hard to avoid how I'm feeling, and I know that everyone is feeling it too. Even if I don't watch the news, and I really do make a concerted effort not to turn on the news because you can't help but get sucked in. You can't help but want to see what's the number today and how is it impacting the world, and where is it, and how many people and all of that. But I'm realizing that the more I tune in, the more it's impacting my fear level. My fear level is rising, and I'm starting to see things in a way that is not healthy. And so because of this, I know that it has no choice but to impact everything around me. And likewise, I know it's impacting everyone in our audience the same way. So I was watching this video earlier, and I posted it on my personal page about how to avoid getting sucked into this. And the truth is, we have to recognize what we're really looking at and what we're really dealing with. So before we go any further with it, guys, I wanted to go in and get your feedback. Go in and chime in, and let's just start the conversation. Who wants to go first?
Wow. Yes, and I'll get it started on this end. It I would say that I found myself yesterday checking my hands, checking the surfaces that I touched. Because like you said, the news cycle is 24/7, regardless what channel you're looking at. Even sports channels are talking about it because it has an impact as far as maybe people coming out to the venues because of the large social gatherings where there could be the potential to spread, the disease. I mean, and if you look at the news now, we understand that they're calling it a pandemic. It is almost imminent that it will spread, and you'll see more cases show up in your state, your city, your town, close to you, maybe someone in your family, your circle of influence. So it is affecting that, and it soon may affect, like we said, your ability to earn a living because you could be self quarantining yourself, or you could be your town could be in a state of emergency and they ask you to self quarantine. And we know for some folks, there's not a salary that's being made. There's an hourly wage. So if they don't show up for work, they don't get paid. And that right there is scary in and of itself because now you got to think, well, what am I going to do if that check's not coming? And I know I'm getting way ahead in the conversation, but that's why, without even really having a briefing today, when Queenie and the Kingsmen came together today, we were already on the same page that we needed to address this. We needed to address this head on to make sure we put out the fire, put out the fear, and add some practical things that we can do now to be prepared, because it's not about being prepared for tomorrow. You should have prepared for tomorrow 8 weeks ago. Now we're preparing for June, July, August. Now is when you go ahead and start digging that ground and sowing a seed to be prepared for the harvest that's going to come from this, to make sure that your antidote is already in place. Mr. Taylor?
And how I'm gonna come at this. I'm always gonna come at it from the mindset of how you're really thinking, right? The biggest way to keep your immunity from all of this is to know who you are. Right? When you know who you are, that puts you in a place of we'll tell you that, in a higher vibration. A lot of times, viruses, bacteria, those things can't live in an environment where the energy is high. That's the way nature works. That's just the way it is. And the minute, that's why they cast fear. Like me and Mr. Yarbo were talking earlier, talking about casting. That word cast means to throw off. So they're casting fear onto everybody, and that's what they want, because if they can lower the frequency of a whole, they know they can create the pandemic that they need to create the situation so they can keep robbing and stealing from us from where what they have been doing. I don't really get caught up in this stuff. I don't watch it because I already know what it is. Not only that, when once again, I truly believe once you study money, you have the key to every door. So, because of my knowledge of understanding what money is and how money was set up, and the people that play the part of that, you already know their game, and they already told you what they were doing. So there's no need to panic. Now, the people who are panicking are the people that don't believe that this stuff exists, or that this stuff is real, or it's conspiracy theory. No, that's why you running and freaking out and panicking and doing all what they telling you to do. Wash your hands every 2 minutes. And so I'm gonna say, like I said last week, everybody just
Let's do that
we
again.
got time. Just
Let's
one
do
more
that
time.
again. One more.
Breathe in. Feel your peace. Like you just feel it. Look, ladies and gentlemen, breathing is one of the most powerfulest things you can do. And they try to make it a foo-foo thing. It's the breath of life.
And,
Yeah.
and let me piggyback on one thing that Mr. Taylor said, where he mentioned when you understand money, and it's not so much understanding money that I think he was referring to, but more when you understand the systems that are in place. When you understand the systems that are in place, almost everything comes back to your wallet, the educational system, the governmental system, the
Health
executive
system.
system, the corporate
The
system,
food system.
everything, the food system, everything comes all the way back down to the common denominator, and that's money. And when you see that, you see how every little piece has its part in ultimately either depleting your ability to earn a decent income and provide for yourself, so you need them,
Mm.
or your ability to be able to put your posterity in position to do that as well. So that's what we're here. That's what Financial Freedom Fridays is about. Because if you just want to make a decent living, here's the plan. They already gave it to you. Go to school, get good grades so you can go to college, so you can get a degree, so you can get a good job and have a career. There you go. You have a great living. You'll make 60 to $120,000 a year, and you'll live good working until you die. But on Financial Freedom Fridays, we are working toward building wealth, a legacy that lasts beyond you, beyond your degree, because you can't pass that degree on. You can't pass that good job on. You can't pass that good credit on. But sound financial principles, goals, and real wealth, you can pass on for generations to come. And that's what we're here to get everyone to. We are all in the vehicle together.
Yes. 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 Wow. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's interesting because as long as you keep that mindset, it's like you have to recalibrate yourself daily to come back to center. Who am I? Why am I? And understand that you have the power. We're not powerless to this. Yes, it's impacting the world. Yes, but we have the ability and the capability to rise above it all. So I'm really glad that we're having this conversation. One of the things in the video that I posted that really struck me and stood out for me was it talked about how the financial systems, like you just said, are connected to this whole hoopla. And not to diminish the impact of how it's impacting the world, but how the financial systems are being benefiting from it. And the more crazy we get, the more panicked we get, the more freedoms we allow ourselves to lose. And we saw this happen in the early 2000s with 9/11. Everyone was up in awe and afraid of terrorism, and we gave up all of our freedoms, and now we have to almost disrobe. I remember I went to DC a couple of weeks ago, and I was literally groped through the security twice. I mean, literally feeling all over my body, all in crevices that I don't want strangers to be in. But I had to do that because we allowed our freedoms to be completely eroded as a result of that incident. And so this is now on a higher scale. And now our bodies, our health is being impacted by it. And so we have to be vigilant. We have to really um, guard our gates, guard our ear gates, guard our eye gates, so that we don't allow this epidemic of fear to impact our bodies and impact our brains and allow us to make the choices that diminish our freedoms. I'm gonna have to keep breathing.
Man, and it's the impact. I mean, it's so many places that I want to go. I mean,
Just go.
I'm trying to
Just go.
get my thoughts in a coherent uh, pattern so that I can give proper information. I mean, what's happening now with this coronavirus is that this is the easiest narrative to be able to give to the masses.
Yes.
This is why this is happening, that's happening, and the third, the easiest way to give the narrative to the people is to say it's because of this. But we know that as long as the earth remains, seed, time, and harvest shall not cease. Day and night shall not cease. So we're seeing the harvest of seed that was sown years ago,
Yes.
months ago, weeks ago, not the coronavirus from last week. No, this is from months and years of financial irresponsibility, bad fiscal policy by the Fed, by the United States government, by the central banks of the world, what we call the banksters. They have been using policies to enrich them. On my Monday show, I talked about the creator of the 401k, Ted Banner. He said that he created a monster.
Mm.
What his initial intent was, the banksters had used now to enrich the financial industry and not the savers, not the general public. It had become so laced with hidden fees and other mumbo jumbo that he was just like, this is not the intent of it, and it needs to be blown up.
Wow.
But we've been fed that that's your retirement policy,
Mm.
when that's not the case. And now with the coronavirus, they're able to use that as the smoke and mirrors to rob you of your retirement and do what? Keep you in the force to work. I'm sorry, keep you in the workforce.
Mm.
And that's all that they want to do. And not only that, look at the impact to the service sector, the hospitality sector.
Mm.
People are going to be afraid to get on cruise ships, afraid to go to Las Vegas. All of these conferences around the globe are canceling their conferences because they don't want to bring people together in large groups.
Yes.
So now what they're doing is they're separating the groups and quarantining you to be by yourself, to not have physical contact with anyone else, to not get this information that you need to not only win, but to thrive in what's to come. And that's what we're here for today. We're going to give you practical steps to position yourself to thrive. Mr. Taylor?
For some reason, my heart is kind of led to speak to the health portion of it, right? Because it's tied in the same video we was watching. I'll bring up two scenarios. We saw where this doctor, he drank the Ebola virus,
Mm-hmm.
right? Did nothing to him. He gave it to another person. They drank it. Nothing happened. They gave it to a third person. That dude almost died. And it came back to your immunity. There was a guy in the church. I forget his name. Y'all might remember his name, but he went over to Africa or something like that, and they put some kind of bacteria or some kind of virus on his skin, and they checked it under the microscope, and it literally died once it touched him, because in his mindset he said no bacteria can ever penetrate my skin. Nothing can ever touch me, and I just want to make sure our tribe, our family remembers, yes, it can impact the world, but it doesn't have to impact your world.
Mm.
You have to always remember that. That's why make sure you watch what you're starting to eat now. If you're eating a lot of garbage, stop. Like help your body. Your body is the greatest machine on this planet.
Yes.
It runs on garbage. You can feed it garbage and it will still run. To the best your body might run like garbage, but it will still run.
Mm-hmm.
So drink lots of water. Go get you some liquid vitamins. If you get vitamins, and I'm gonna say this because I've been a personal trainer and I'm a health coach, get a liquid vitamin because the absorption rate is better. When you get vitamins and pills, you basically peeing out the vitamin. You don't really absorb it. Your body doesn't absorb it. They find vitamins in people's stomach because they didn't get digested,
Right.
right? Make sure you detach. Don't watch the news. Get away from it. Stop it. Like stop being engaged in what's going on. Yes,
Because that's part of your diet.
because
You're
that's part
feeding
of
yourself
you're
that.
feeding yourself that. So yes, we know what's happening. I'm not saying don't be ignorant of what's going on, but don't walk around with like, oh, don't do that because you know what you're gonna do. You will set yourself up to attract it and
Mm-hmm.
to catch it
That's right.
because that's your state of mind. But if you got that place where nah, that stuff can't touch me, it can't.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want our audience and our family, not our, I don't only want to say our audience, our family to just be in that state of mind. Like just do the right things now, like Mr. Yarbo said. Like plant the seed now, so the harvest you get later will be a great harvest, both financially and physically and mentally.
In in
Yep. So
in addition to that, we are taught to take vitamins, but also take minerals because a lot of
Minerals,
times your body can't absorb because the minerals need to be
it's more
replaced.
minerals.
Exactly, because we're depleted of those.
Yeah.
And another thing, drink as much alkaline water as you possibly can.
Mhm.
And the most important thing we can do, and this is going to sound kind of off, but we have to get our rest. That one thing about women, we just want to go, 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 and we put ourselves last. This is not a time to be selfless. This is a time to take care of you. Get your sleep. You need at least 7.5 hours of sleep a night. Make sure you're completing your sleep cycles, which is a 90-minute session each time. So if you're sleeping 6 hours, that's great. If you're sleeping 7.5 hours, that's great. If you're sleeping 8 hours, that's not because you're breaking a sleep cycle. So make sure you're sleeping in 90-minute increments so your body can be restored by the time you wake up. Um, Try not to allow yourself to be in anger and in high stress environments because one of the things that we know is that stress lowers your immune system. We are really, really focused on injecting strength into the body temple so that when and if you have to be impacted by this, your body will fight it off quickly. And then remember, the book of life, the book of love, the word of God says that 1,000 may fall by your side, 10,000 by your right hand, but it shall not come near you. So I'm telling myself that, I'm teaching that to my girls. It's important that we be girded with that strength and that word so that we're reminded of the power and the strength of God in the midst of all of this. This isn't the first time that something like this has ever happened.
right.
So
Hmm.
we just have to be vigilant and know how to take care of ourselves and do better.
And let me just add this. I know you got to make a comment real quick, and I want to go back to the breath. I was thinking the
Yes.
other day how we live in a world where we can't even say we can take an hour to just be with ourselves and breathe. Let your thoughts just flow. We are so twisted in our thinking and running like nobody's business. And for what? Where we can't even just stop. Oh, I don't have an hour to just be by myself. Then something is wrong with your life. If you don't have that time to just take an hour for some me time, I don't care if it's a half hour in the morning, half hour at night, something's got to change in your life. You have to make that time for you. Selfish. You got to be selfish. Just like you said, mommy time. You got to be selfish with your time and breathe. You want to really fight all this crap that's going on right now, financially, all that? Start breathing.
It's funny you say that, Dwayne, because I did some research on the breath. And we don't realize that part of our healing is our body's ability to oxygenate. Our brain functions better when it has more oxygen. Our immune system becomes stronger. Just everything about the way that we live is impacted by our breath. And if you notice, because we're in a high stress environment, um, we tend to not breathe deeply. We tend to be very shallow. And I even have had times in my life, and a lot of the women that I've spoken to, where we notice you're holding your breath. You're doing work, but you're holding your breath. You don't even realize it. And that's your body's stress response. So, like you said, you've got to go back to that breath. Allow your body to become oxygenated so that you can get stronger. So that if something does come across you, and as we found out today, the coronavirus is nothing compared to pneumonia that's killed how many millions? I have hang
Like
on.
75 million or
I'm going
something
to
like
show
that.
this screen. I know you guys can't see it, but it says these are the number of deaths by cause worldwide. And we'll go through this quickly because I want to talk about the money piece. Um, but it says that the highest rates of death is cardiovascular disease and cancers, then um, respiratory diseases, which means breathing.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Breathing. People are not, people, 2.56 million people died from pneumonia in 2017. So a
Wow.
lot of the stuff that we're taught to be afraid of, like terrorism and plane accidents and all this other stuff, it pales in comparison to what we're dealing with now. So, I don't. Well, let me say that differently. The coronavirus pales in comparison to what we've been dealing with all along. So it's important. Hey, Miss C, good. Oh, my volume is low. Thank you, love. So it's important to build up your immune system and make sure that you're getting that breath and taking those deep belly breaths. We'll have to talk about that on another session. But let's go on and talk about the money piece because we don't have a lot more time. But I want to talk about the fact that God said that the gold is mine. And one of the things that we recognized in that video is that the gold is what used to back money and it's not backing money anymore. And that's part of the driving force for the economic impact of what's about to happen right now. So,
What's happening globally is called de-dollarization. Companies are making bilateral agreements with each other to bypass the dollar. They no longer want to operate under what's called a dollar hegemony, where the United States doesn't have to produce anything of value to earn dollars. All we have to do is print them out of thin air. Where a country that needs dollars has to provide oil, has to provide products, has to provide export to earn those dollars to then be able to get the oil to provide the current power or whatever they need for their country. Well, the U.S. has had that hegemony, and we're living in end time prophecy now where there will be one world government, there will be one world order, and it's going to start with a one world currency. Well, we already know, like you said, God said that the gold is mine, the silver is mine,
yes.
and that is good. I mean, we can start in Genesis and trace all the way to Revelations how many times gold was used. And now the American people and the people at large have been dumbed down to believe that currency is money, that having a lot of paper is having money when it's not. And right now, with the dollar being devalued, and this is how the dollar's being devalued, and you can do your research. Basic economics, supply and demand. The more supply you have of something, the price goes down, the value goes down because there's more. It's saturated the market. Well, that's what they're doing with dollars. The way this market is being propped up now is by what's called a term called the repo market. The banks are insolvent. They do not have the capital. They do not have the money. They are in debt below past their eyeballs. And the Federal Reserve has been printing billions of dollars nightly. That is why the country is always running a budget deficit. Think about your own life. If you run a budget deficit, you're using credit. Well, how much credit do you have? Your one credit card has a $10,000 limit. You have a line of credit on your home equity for $50,000. You have another credit card with a $5,000 limit. Well, once you max those out, where do you go to? Well, you got to start paying some of that down. So you can't run a deficit for too long personally. Well, the US government has been running a budget deficit for at least the last 40 to 50 years. I think Clinton had one year where he balanced the budget, and we operated on what we budgeted is what we spent, one year out of 50. Every year we run a deficit. That's why if you look at US debt, usdebtclock.org, you see that we are over 23 trillion in debt and climbing.
Wow.
Why? Because we can print money out of thin air. We don't have to produce it. Well, what does that do for me and you? That makes the dollars that we have in our pockets and in our savings accounts buy less and less. Now, the question is, how do I stop that? There's only one way to stop that, and that is to start to acquire assets that outpace inflation, the loss of value and purchasing power of your dollar, and there's only one way to stop that, to acquire assets that outpace inflation and appreciate in value. And there's only one thing on this planet that we know that is guaranteed to do that, and that is gold. That is why we take the dollars that we are working hard for and we exchange them for real money, gold, physical gold that we hold, like Mr. Taylor just showed you. It's as simple as that. We can talk for hours about the problems, and there are different solutions and different ways of building wealth. But the one way to protect your finances now is just like having homeowners insurance. You don't want to have to use it, but you're glad that you have it if you need it. That's the same thing with acquiring gold. And I'm also going to say silver as well. The two precious metals on this planet that were spoken of in the Bible, spoken of in the Quran, spoken of in the Torah. There is not one religious book that you can go to that does not speak on the importance of it. And we are living in times now where it is vitally important that you have some for you and your family and start to build a legacy. Time is running short on us. There's so much more I can talk about on this, but I'm going to pass the floor over to Mrs. Brown and also to Mr. Taylor as well.
I'll yield to you, Mr. Taylor. Is there something you want to say to add to that?
Nah, I mean, I know we're gonna have Sunday, so we'll have plenty of time Sunday to go in detail about what Mr. Yarbo was just talking about. My thing is family. Be easy, rest, breathe, don't panic, don't give in to the fear. Everything's gonna be okay. Connect with us on Sunday, and we're gonna show you financially how you can truly begin to protect yourself once and for all
Yes.
with this information. And not only the Bibles, but even in our U.S. Constitution. The only thing that was ever supposed to be money was gold and silver.
And let me add one thing to what Mr. Taylor just said, man. This is so important. He said everything's going to be okay. And what we've done a lot is we've spoken that in rhetoric. Oh, yeah, everything's going to be all right. Yes, it is. But it takes action on our part.
Mm.
We can't just sit back and, oh, everything's going to be all right. I'm going to think everything's going to be all right. Yes, the power of thought is very powerful. But what that should do is then allow a download of wisdom, a download of insight, a download of now what to do to make sure everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be, it's like we've heard our pastor say this times past. You walk through a desert and you're about to die of thirst and there's a glass of water in front of you. You can believe all day that if you drink that water, you will not die. If I drink that water, I will not die. Great. Drink the water. Take the action. Take the action to relax, breathe, let go of cognitive dissonance. Do not allow this truth to run into something that, well, I heard in the past, they told me, they said. They purposely put that out there to make sure that there was a block put up in your mind already that we had to fight through. Well, I'm here to tell you now, don't allow that block to stop you from understanding the truth of what we're telling you from proper resources, this is not our thoughts, this is not our opinion, this is truth. Take the action and everything will be all right. I love you, family.
Yes. So this coming Sunday night at 9 o'clock, from 9 to 10, we're gonna host a live Q&A and a session to talk more in depth about systems where you can actually begin to acquire gold for yourself and your family, to start building that legacy and to start making sure that your family is secure outside of the system that appears to be falling apart. So,
Mhm.
and I will be putting a link in the description so that you can join us, and it's absolutely free. We want to get as many people as possible to learn about this so that we can help our families, because this is not going to go away. It's only going to get to a place where it looks crazy. So we want to be prepared, and we want to be on the other side, looking from the outside in and saying, "Ooh, I'm so glad I did." Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you all so much for joining us today on Thank God It's Financial Freedom Fridays. I'm Queenie Brown. These are the Kingsmen, Mr. Donovan Yarbo and Mr. Dwayne Taylor. We love you. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Make sure you check the description. Make sure you also share this video with your friends. Post it on your page. Make sure that your friends and family know about it so that we can all grow and build our way out of this together. All right. We love you. We'll see you next week. Thank God It's Financial Freedom Fridays.